Good evening. There's a first for everything. Good evening, everybody. My name is Sean Williams. I'm the orchestra teacher here at McNary High School, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to our March concert. I often say to my students that my job is to teach myself out of a job. That I know that I will know that I've done my job when they don't need me anymore, when they can tune their instruments themselves, when they can identify a good tone by themselves, when they can pick up a piece of music and figure out how to play it by themselves without asking for help. Does that mean you never need help? Of course not. But it does mean that my whole goal is to teach musical independence. And what you see on stage just now with the concert orchestra is increasing musical independence. At the beginning of this year, we were doing single string tuning. We were tuning one string at a time around the orchestra, and I was going around doing a lot of helping. And as the year has gone on, these students have moved toward a more professional model of tuning, using double stops, playing two strings at once, or harmonics in the case of the bass, using their fingers in a special way to create a higher tone, a higher pitch that's easier to tune. And they're doing it mostly on their own now. And that's just one little element, one little aspect in which this orchestra has become more independent this year. We have three selections for you this evening. The first is entitled Fumble Fingers by longtime orchestra teacher John Caponegro, who's originally from New York. This piece features the first violins with a very tricky fingering passage in their music that we actually learned together as a class. Everybody learned it, even Avery back there on the bass, shifting all over the place, trying to play all those notes in the first violin part. And then we eventually learned the orchestra parts, the harmony parts as well. Our second selection is a shaker melody that you may know from Aaron Copland's Appalachian Spring, Simple Gifts. You'll hear a nice setting by the composer and arranger John Higgins. And finally, we'll finish with Richard Meyer's Moonlight Tango, which features the ever-popular dotted quarter eighth note rhythm, which I will demonstrate after I put the microphone down. I've been practicing, and so have they. Please join me in welcoming to the stage the McNary Concert Orchestra. So we had a couple of snow days, I don't know if you noticed, and one of the joys of the high school schedule is that we're on a block schedule, which means most weeks, Monday is all 8 classes, Tuesday is an A day, which means we have periods 1, 2, 3, and 4. Wednesday is a B day, 5, 6, 7, 8. Thursday is an A day again, and Friday is a B day. So it alternates, but the schedule is the same from week to week. Last year we did a rolling block, which is A, B, A, B, A, B, and wherever the weekend falls, we start the next week. It was all kinds of confusing. How many of you forgot your instrument at least once last year because of the rolling block schedule? Yeah, exactly. So having the fixed block is helpful. The problem is when we have a snow day like we did today last week on Thursday, which is an A day, and then a snow day on Tuesday this week, which is an A day. That means orchestras like concert orchestra lose 2 days of rehearsal, which on a block schedule, that's an hour and a half each time. So I think they're doing really a remarkable job, especially considering they lost 2 rehearsals right before the concert. So nice work, students. Proud of your progress. This is not concert orchestra's final performance with this music. We'll be playing again in about 2 weeks, right here on the same stage for the Salem-Keizer High School Intermediate Orchestra Festival, which will feature orchestras from all 6 Salem-Keizer high schools. It's an adjudicated festival, which means we'll have 2 judges here listening to their performances and giving them a rating and written feedback on how they did so that they can improve. So this is one of those neat opportunities in the school orchestra where they get to take music that they've already performed and now try to make it better, now that they're comfortable with it. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they do over the course of the next 2 weeks. Our final selection for you this evening, Richard Meyer's Moonlight Tango. Enjoy. I'm sometimes asked by families, what's a better experience with a stringed instrument, a musical instrument? Private lessons or playing in an orchestra? And the answer is they each have their own advantages. With private lessons, it's one-on-one. It's you, your teacher. The teacher can focus on your needs and your needs alone. You can move as quickly as you want to or as slowly and methodically as you want to. But with an orchestra, you get daily or at least regular contact. You're making music in a group, so you learn how to listen to and respond to other musicians. You get that daily reinforcement in class, so there's some efficiency built into the orchestra experience that private lessons can't match. But what's better than private lessons or orchestra? Private lessons and orchestra. You saw where that was going. Strongly encourage you families, if not during the school year, during the summer, if you can enroll your student in private lessons, we've got some fantastic private teachers here in Salem and Kaiser. You will see their abilities continue to grow because of that one-on-one attention, because of that individualized pacing, and that will make the orchestra experience a more rewarding experience for them and for the musicians around them. If you're interested in private lessons for your orchestra student, please contact me. I'm happy to recommend outstanding private teachers on all 4 of our string instruments, violin, viola, cello, and bass. Now taking the stage is the Sinfonia and some special guests, reinforcing our violin section. Hallie is frozen in the headlights. I shouldn't have looked around. I'm sorry, Hallie. I'll stand here. I joked with the Sinfonia students earlier in the year that we were playing a game of Survivor Orchestra Edition because we had a couple of violin students transfer out, and then we had a violin student who suffered concussion and wasn't able to play, and we had several violin students get sick, and so there were a couple days when there were 2 or 3 violin players in the room trying to cover 2 different violin parts, mind you. So the Sinfonia violin students have gotten a lot of practice on being independent because they've often been by themselves, which is both a terrifying but a very rewarding experience as well. The basses will be settled here in a moment. We'll tune and we'll introduce our selections. I want to know who came up with the idea of taking a really thin piece of metal, stretching it out under incredible tension, and then messing with the tension of the string, just to see if it would explode in your face. So there's this tension that comes from tuning an E string. Okay, we're good. So again, this is the McNary Sinfonia. These students are in grades 9 through 12. We've got students in all 4 grades in this class. We have some special guests here. One from the concert orchestra, who due to a schedule conflict wasn't able to be in Sinfonia, but he has learned the music on his own and is joining us. And we have some members of the chamber orchestra violin section who are filling out the violin numbers. We have 3 selections for you this evening. The first is a masterpiece by Johann Sebastian Bach, his Brandenburg Concerto number 5 in D major. Bach wrote 6 Brandenburg concertos, so named because he wrote them as basically a job application. He was trying to get a job with a member of the royalty in Brandenburg, Germany, and sent these pieces off. They're considered masterpieces of the Baroque era, written for different combinations of instruments. This one originally was for a string orchestra with 3 soloists on violin, flute, and harpsichord, kind of an early version of the piano, and then 5 others. Sent them off, and wouldn't you know it, he never got the job. So he wrote these amazing pieces of music that 300 years later were still performing, but he had to look for work elsewhere. So I hope you'll enjoy Brandenburg Concerto number 5. Our second selection is by a man named Engelbert Humperdinck, which, if you were, yes, one of the funniest names in classical music, right up there with Karl Ditters von Dittersdorf. I'm not making this up. How dare you laugh? Karl Ditters von Dittersdorf was a very serious musician. It's okay to have some fun with classical music. At any rate, Engelbert Humperdinck was a composer in the late 1800s who wrote an opera on the story Hansel and Gretel. And this tune is the evening prayer when the children are lost in the woods and they're hoping they find their way home. They're settling in for the night, trying to calm themselves down because, well, they're alone in the woods and they're terrified. And so they sing this very endearing lullaby to help themselves calm down and get to sleep. By the way, there was also a pop singer named Engelbert Humperdinck in the 70s. Anybody familiar with his music? Not the same person. Totally different style of music. There you have it. Our final selection is by modern composer Lauren Bernofsky and is entitled Wired. It's a hard-driving rock-style piece for string orchestra we think you're going to enjoy. Please join me in welcoming to the stage McNary Sinfonia. There's always one. You can think of the music rehearsal process as a pyramid, where down at the foundation we have our basics. Pitch, are you playing the right notes? Are they in tune? Tone, are you playing with a good sound? Is it focused? Is it resonant? And rhythm, are you playing the right notes at the right time? Those are the basics, right? And oftentimes, people who aren't really involved in the study of music think that, well, that's basically it, right? Well, no, there's more, because then there's blend and balance. Can you make your instrument sound like your neighbor's instrument? Can we balance the voices where we can hear enough viola, we can hear enough violins? Having the right number of instruments helps, but even if you've got the right number of instruments, you can still overpower one with the other. And then we talk about phrasing and expression and dynamics and articulation and style and all these higher order musical concepts that you can't really get to until the basics are learned, right? So the practicing process, what the students do at home, hopefully, is they're learning those basics. I mentioned this to a couple of orchestras just today, that professional musicians don't go to rehearsal to learn their part. They go to rehearsal to learn everybody else's part. They go to rehearsal to learn how their part fits in with the whole, because hopefully they've already done the work at home to learn those parts. And so part of this educational process of being musicians, being student musicians, is learning that sense of responsibility to each other and to the music of learning that part so that we can then get to the good stuff. And again, with Sinfonia, they're performing at the Intermediate Orchestra Festival in 2 weeks. I look forward to seeing what progress they make on those big musical concepts now that we've got the basics in place. They know their notes, they know their rhythms, they're playing with a good sound, and now we can start talking about what does it mean to make a beautiful phrase? What does it mean to be expressive and emotional in our playing? Our final selection is Wired by Lauren Bernofsky. Enjoy. We have a fantastic department here. I mention at every concert my colleagues in the performing arts and creative arts at this end of the building. Andy Thomas, Elizabeth Herring, Alex Hunter, Tom Cavanaugh, Justin Miller, fantastic colleagues to work with. But the excellence of our department extends beyond just the teachers and to the students as well. We've got a great team of student workers here making things happen. Running our lights tonight and our sound, Daniela and Robert up there, thank you so much for being here tonight. Let's give them a round of applause. Our video crew of Ms. Ashley Gruber, our video production crew, McNary Media Arts, or Media Productions, excuse me, Marcy, Mikey, and Aaron. Thank you all for being here tonight. Great work. We have forecasting coming up next week. I know forecast is the last thing you all want to hear when we're talking about snow, but we're talking about classes. Next Tuesday, in their advisory classes, the students will be selecting their courses for next year. Parents, families, students, be looking for an email from me over the weekend with information about what you should do. We've talked a little bit about that during class. For now, your job is to make sure the orchestra gets on your list of your electives for next year, and then we'll talk about the audition process a little bit later on. The materials are ready to go. I've just got to print them out so you have them so you can work on them. You'll have until about the beginning of May to prepare your audition for next year. And of course, if you're interested in the nuts and bolts of how music fits together and what a perfect fifth is and what a good chord progression is, you should definitely take music. Oh, good. My propaganda has worked. Looking forward to having many of you in these areas. The chamber orchestra is about ready to go. Did we evict the bass players? Stealthy as ever.
Due to the snowfall, on Tuesday night we were supposed to have an audio production and technology show here on stage. They had everything set up. They had their lights, their rigging, it was a rock band show. So you gotta have the lights and fog machines and everything. And then it snowed! And so I got a video from Mr. Thomas, the APT teacher that morning saying, oh, here I am, I'm on stage, and there's no school. And so they had to take everything down, and it's all backstage where we normally put our basses, which is fine. It's just, we had to, I think that's probably my bass guitars flat and down. I can't play baseball and save my life, so it's all good.
This is the McNary Honors Chamber Orchestra. These students are dedicated, passionate, hardworking musicians. Most of them are enrolled in at least 2 orchestra classes, or 3, or 4 in youth symphony and jazz band. And, you know, they're very busy musicians, and they do some amazing work. We're going to present 2 pieces for you tonight, and both of them are lies. Sorry, hate to break the news to you. The first one is listed in your program as the first Mannheim Symphony, as in Mannheim, Germany, number 1 in G major by Johann Stamitz. It's actually probably not by Johann Stamitz. The funny thing about compositions back in the 1700s, people would write music, and their name would somehow mysteriously get erased. And this is in the day before fact-checking and the internet, and so a publisher would say, I like this music. Nobody knows who this composer is, but everybody knows Johann Stamitz. We'll just put Stamitz's name on it, and we'll sell more music. And it worked. So this piece is probably by a different composer. We're not 100% sure. It has some of the stylistic markings of Stamitz, but probably actually by somebody else. It's a great piece of music in an early classical style. Think Mozart in his early years, or Haydn, but kind of in that transition period between the Baroque and the classical era. It's in 3 movements. And if you're feeling sophisticated, you may hold your applause until the end of the 3rd movement. The second piece is also a lie, only in the sense that it's by somebody who went by a different name. Peter Warlock is the pen name of the composer Philip Heseltine, who was an English composer who took tunes from the Renaissance and rewrote them for modern string orchestra with characteristic sense of humor of the early 20th century. Peter Warlock lived quite the life. It was a short life, but he lived it to its fullest, and you'll hear that joy for life in this music. We'll be playing the 1st, 2nd, 5th, and 6th movements of the Capriole Suite by Peter Warlock. Please join me in welcoming to the stage the McNary Honors Chamber Orchestra. orchestra of 17 to an orchestra of 70. 17. 17, 17. Why is English so hard? At any rate, please bear with us for a moment while we do a small set change. It's a good opportunity to greet your neighbors and stand up and stretch. We'll be back in a few moments. Everybody's tuned and the winds are warmed up. I have things to say, but I'll keep it brief. Pie. Who likes pie? Woo! Cool. Pie fundraiser. 2 weeks, buy pie, help support these students, do amazing things. Yay, pie. We can't have a program like this without the financial support to make that happen. We get a lot of tremendous support from McNary High School, from Salem Kaiser Public Schools. We've gotten support from our administration, Mr. Jesperson, to purchase some new cabinetry, to expand our storage here. We've gotten new instruments over the years, a tremendous amount of financial support here, as well as all the logistical support that it takes to run this program. But parents and families, we count on you too. These instruments, they sound amazing. Why? Because they're good quality instruments. They've got nice strings on them. You pay for private lessons, you pay for youth symphony. We thank you all for your support. One of the things that our fundraisers pay for is section coaches. And the musicians of the chamber orchestra, and eventually the symphony, and also the winds and the wind ensemble, they benefit from regular coaching by professionals on their instruments. They come here to McNary, they lead section rehearsals, so the violins are working on violin-specific things, the clarinets are working on clarinet-specific things. Fundraisers pay for that. They pay for travel, they pay for instruments, and we thank you all for your support in making those things happen. We've got a busy couple of weeks happening here at McNary and in Salem Kaiser schools. This past weekend we had our All-City Honors Concert, and we had numerous representatives from McNary's wind ensemble and orchestras performing in the All-City Honor Band and Honor Orchestra. If you were in All-City this past weekend, would you please stand and be recognized? Bravo, students. You heard me mention festival season. The wind ensemble performed at Oregon State University on Monday. They were the only Salem Kaiser school to perform at Monday's festival. Everybody else was scheduled for Tuesday. What happened on Tuesday? Snow! So congratulations, McNary, on beating the snow, performing down at Oregon State. You heard me mention the Intermediate Orchestra Festival. There's an Intermediate Band Festival happening next week. Tomorrow morning at 7:30, the Chamber Orchestra will be here. We're driving down to Springfield for the Springfield Orchestra Festival. Next Friday, the Symphony is performing at George Fox University. These are all events that qualify, hopefully will qualify us for performing at the State Orchestra Championships. And then Saturday, right here at McNary High School, we're hosting the Oregon Music Education Association District 4 Solo and Ensemble Festival, in which students from all around our region perform as soloists, as individual players, or in small ensembles of 2, 3, or 4 or more musicians, for an adjudicator and a small audience, and for the chance to earn a spot at the state championships for solo and small ensembles. If you are performing at solo and ensemble this weekend, please stand. And families, we encourage all of you to show up and hear these wonderful musicians play. It's going to be a great day of music making on Saturday. On a related note, students, if you are working at the Solo and Ensemble Festival, managing rooms, setting things up, helping to make this event happen, please stand. We've got symphonic band students helping to run this event. This event takes a tremendous amount of student power to pull off. And one of our phrases here in Kaiser is pride, spirit, and volunteerism, right? And this is a great example of the students. Well, they didn't really volunteer. I told them they had to. But still, they're showing up and helping out. And so we appreciate them allowing themselves to be voluntold to help out on Saturday. It's going to be a great event. Looking ahead to April, Friday, April 14th, is the Salem Kaiser Invitational High School Orchestra Festival, in which the Chamber Orchestra and Symphony Orchestra will perform the State Orchestra Championships and a trip to Newport. My goodness, it's a busy time. So thank you all for your support, and thank you for being here for our concerts. Our first selection tonight is by Handel, the first rock star of the Baroque era, George Friedrich Handel. He wrote this music for the Royal Fireworks to celebrate the end of a war. And the dress rehearsal was so well publicized that it created a traffic jam in London and lasted for 3 hours. And this is in the days before cars. So pretty amazing music for the Royal Fireworks. Our second selection is a folk tune you've probably heard before called Black is the Color of My True Love's Hair. And that will be directed by my friend and colleague, Mrs. Elizabeth Herring, the band director. And our final selection by Peter Ilyich Tchaikovsky, he of the 1812 Orchestra fame, no less exciting but without cannons. The Cossack dance, the Ukrainian dance from Mazeppa. Enjoy and please welcome to the stage McNary Symphony Orchestra.
This piece starts with the timpani roll.
You all know the dance. The one where they squat, and they kick, and they get their arms crossed, and they leap up in the air, and they arch their backs, and it makes me tired just watching it, but it's incredible. That's the Ukrainian dance, the Cossack dance, that I want you to envision while we're playing this music of Tchaikovsky. Parents, family, friends, thank you all so much for your support. Students, well done. We have one more round of applause for our concert orchestra students. For our symphonic students. The chamber's up here on the stage, so a good round of applause in a moment. Please enjoy our final selection by Tchaikovsky, the Cossack dance from his opera Mazeppa. Thank you all again. Thank you.